This is KSL Sports Live, broadcasting from the Mountain Home Services studios.
Friends, how are you? You know, it's that time of year where college hoops take center stage. And we've got the prescription for this March fever right here on KSL Sports Live. The season finale down in Provo, BYU, Utah, the rivalry renewed tonight at the Marriott Center with a lot riding on the line. Will that Red Hawk Cougars wrap up the regular season with a win, or will the Runnin' Utes make it 3 in a row against the Y? Utah also making a big move to lead the hoops program forward, while BYU is parting ways with one of their head coaches. And we also check in with the BYU football team, the Utah Hockey Club, and the Utah Jazz, all coming up today in the show. But a part of this March fever prescription requires more cowbell. Utah State cowbell, right? Anyway, I tried. The Aggies, they're nearly a lock for the NCAA tournament, but they do come hobbling back home, back-to-back blowout losses. Can they get back on track just before tourney time with a home court win today? Utah State hosting the Air Force Falcons. Air Force has just 4 wins all season. Jalen Royals back in Logan, cheering the team on. We'll see him in the NFL soon. First half, Mason Falsliff using the spin move, hitting the floater. Then Falsliff again, but this time throws the oop up to Gattaretzi. Aggies up 19 early. A little later, Falsliff with the steal, takes it the other way, throws it down. The Aggies lead by 18. Or he led the Aggies with 18. Less than 2 to play in the half. Ian Martinez with the 3 ball. Martinez had 14. 40 seconds left in the first half. Drake Allen from downtown. Got it. Aggies take a 27-point lead into halftime. Second half. Utah State still getting defensive pressure here. Martinez the steal, up to Falsliff on the break. He lays it in. Aggies lead just keeps growing. 12 minutes to play. Dayton Albury to Tucker Anderson for 3. Aggies up by 36. Dexter O'Connell entered the game, needing 9 points for 1,000 career points. He gets it in style, delivering with the high-arching 3 to get to that 1,000. The fans loved it. He's all smiles after that shot. Late game, freshman Isaac Davis getting some run, the hoop and the arm. And then after the game, the crowd honoring the Aggies seniors, Dexter O'Connell, Ian Martinez, Abin Gattaretzi, in a nice Utah State win over Air Force.
You know, I couldn't be more proud of a group of young guys to come in back in April, a coaching staff, putting them together. You know, we've had a lot of change, here at the university. It's just been a trying year, to be honest with you. And I think our guys had tremendous resolve throughout this whole thing. We're not the least bit satisfied with 25 wins and 15-5 in the conference. That's what the tournament's about, a chance to compete and hang a banner and win a championship. And I think it's going to be a really, really high-level tournament.
It will be a fun one. This is how the Mountain West Conference standings are looking as of right now. New Mexico with that top seed, Colorado State right behind them. Utah State going to take that 3rd seed to Las Vegas for the Mountain West Tournament. Well, it was a celebration for the seniors at the Spectrum as well, as mentioned before. Ian Martinez, whose career started at Utah, then detoured through Maryland for 2 seasons. He played the last 2 seasons up in Logan. Utah State's leading scorer at 17 points per game this season. He was one of those seniors honored today. Along with Martinez was Abin Gattaretzi and Dexter O'Connell being recognized and celebrated in front of the home fans up in Logan. Well, Weber State's in the Big Sky tournament taking on Sacramento State. This was the Viliami Vartiainen show early on. The catch and shoot 3 for the 1-point lead. Next time down the floor, he rings up another 3 ball. The Wildcats are up 10-6, and he's not done. Moments later, this one from beyond NBA range. He nails it. Vartiainen had 13 points in the first 10 minutes of the game. It's still going on right now. The Wildcats with the 6-point lead.
I'm sure it's not going to be warm and fuzzy and flowers and chocolates, if that's what you mean.
Oh, man alive!
One of the best rivalries in college hoops. And BYU is currently one of the hottest teams in the country, coming at just the right time of the season. 7 straight wins, 3 of those against nationally ranked opponents, 2 of those on the road. As for the Utes, well, the season's been going a bit in the opposite direction, but they still figured out the secret to success against the Cougars the first time that these two teams met this season. It took overtime, but back on January 18th, the Runnin' Utes were able to knock off BYU by a point up at the Huntsman Center, 73-72. In that contest, Ezra Asar led Utah with a career-high 26 points on 11 of 15 shooting. The Utes took the lead with a pair of free throws from former Cougar Hunter Erickson with 13 seconds left. Yegor Demin had a chance to win in the final seconds, but he was unsuccessful. That win made Utah a perfect 2 for 2 against BYU since the Cougars joined the Big 12 Conference. But that loss seemed to spark something with the Cougs. They have gone on to win 11 of the last 13 that they've played. The most recent win, an 88-85 overtime upset of 10th-ranked Iowa State in Ames. Richie Saunders led BYU with 23 points and 6 rebounds, while Dallin Hall scored 22 off the bench. And the win gave put BYU in the driver's seat to get that 4th seed for the Big 12 tournament. Utah, on the other hand, has won just one game since Craig Smith was fired, and they come in to tonight's rivalry with a bit of a crushing blow, a 2-point loss against West Virginia on senior night at the Huntsman Center. Gabe Manson did pour in 23 points in that game, but the Runnin' Utes fell to 8-11 in Big 12 play with that loss.
If you're not ready to go in a game like that, then something's wrong with you. It's just those ones are fun to play in, and they're obviously playing the best basketball they've played all year, so it's going to be tough, but you just got to be ready to go.
Losses may not be quite as painful right now for Utah Hoops fans because the future appears to be quite bright with the announcement earlier this week that Alex Jensen has been hired to take over as Utah's new head basketball coach. Jensen played at the U under Rick Majerus and was a starter on that team that went to the NCAA championship game in 1998. He now returns to Utah with 18 years of coaching experience, 12 as an NBA assistant with the Jazz and the Mavericks. In 2 weekends from now, the Big 12 Gymnastics Championships will be taking place, and they will come to the Maverick Center in West Valley City. The Red Rocks, they have just 2 more meets before then, beginning with this afternoon's road contest at Washington. The Red Rocks start things off on the bars, where they have been solid all season. The Red Rocks were led by Ella Zerbis and Grace McCollum. First, Zerbis sticks her routine for a 9.900, and then Grace, with the anchor leg on the bars, also coming through with the 9.900. The Utes would have the early lead over Washington after 1 rotation. Over to the vault, we'll start with Grace McCollum here. A lot of power on this one. She gets a lot of height. Score of 9.825. Then the stick-it queen, McKenna Smith, Utah's top vaulter, making it look easy. Half on, pike off. She finds her feet, gets a 9.950 to lead the Red Rocks on her routine. Utah in front by nearly a full point after 2 rotations. On the floor, Ella Zerbis delivered another high score for Utah. Her front double twist on this pass helped get her a 9.9, but it was Avery Neff back on the floor for the first time since injuring both her ankles that really inspired this team. Since January 17th was when she was last hurt. She looked good out there. Neff delivering a 9.85. Then McKenna Smith led the Utes with a 9.925, and they're just starting to run away with this one up in Seattle. The Red Rocks wrapped it all up on the beam. McCallum and Neff led the way. Grace with her second 9.95 of the day, and Avery Neff made it look effortless with a 9.925. Utah picks up a nice road score, 197.225, to defeat Washington. Next week, the Red Rocks face UCLA before they head to the Big 12 tournament in 2 weekends from now. Friday marked the conclusion of week 2 of spring football practices down at BYU, and it came with a live practice in full pads as the coaching staff continues to sort through a roster that has to be trimmed down to 105 by the beginning of the season. Last fall in BYU's second season in the Big 12, the Cougars took the conference by storm with the Big 12's top-ranked defense, allowing just 19.6 points per game and 308.8 yards per game, both first in the conference. For defensive coordinator Jay Hill, he expects nothing less this fall. The addition of Keanu Tanavasa in the middle will be a big help, but he also wants this defense to play with some attitude every single down.
I think we've started in a great spot, kind of picking up where we left off. I like where we got. Adding Keanu is a huge deal. Obviously, inside that's made us more stout. I think we got to continue to get nastier and more physical as spring goes on. That edge was a critical part of why we were good last year and why we led the Big 12 in most statistical categories. It's going to be critical that the leaders step up and that we maintain or surpass where we were at last year, because we really are not content with where we are. We got to take a step forward.
Also in Provo this weekend, a bit of a surprise move. BYU announced Saturday morning that both the school and women's basketball coach Amber Whiting have agreed to part ways. In 3 seasons as BYU's head coach, Whiting has posted an overall record of 45 wins and 51 losses. BYU's season came to an end earlier this week in the Big 12 tournament in a loss against UCF. Back to the ice. The NHL trade deadline came and it went. The Utah Hockey Club, they didn't do anything to help build up the roster. Well, why is that? Well, maybe they didn't need to make any trades, but they did do a lot to solidify the future of the current roster by giving new contracts to some of the top players on the team. We'll have more on that coming up next. And are you seeing what the Utah Jazz are doing? Yes, of course they're losing, but they're also getting some remarkable performances from some of their young up-and-coming stars. What Walker Kessler did this week and more. That's coming up next. Warriors on the pitch today against the Houston SaberCats in Major League Rugby. Warriors started slow, only scoring once in the first half, but it looked pretty, the trickeration here. SaberCats led 20-5 at the break and continued to dominate in the second half. This score put them up 34-10. Utah would score again. Joel Hodgson with the try here, but they just couldn't overcome that early deficit. Houston handing Utah their first loss of the season.
And now Sergachev for Marino. Thick for Doc. And a goal! Sergachev across. Keller, they score! Oh, what a shot! Clayton Keller of the Windy City has tied it at 3.
Yeah, the Utah Hockey Club put together a nice little comeback on the road against the Chicago Blackhawks on Friday, but the game did end in an overtime loss still. That's one more point in the standings as they try to keep pace in a tight race for the Stanley Cup playoffs.
We need points at this point, and it's a back-to-back. I think we stay in the hunt. We'll stay right there, and we'll take that.
Yeah, they are staying in the hunt. Here's where things currently stand in the race for that final wildcard spot in the NHL's Western Conference. Utah's 66 points is 2 behind St. Louis and Calgary and 3 behind Vancouver. The Canucks and Flames also have 1 game less played than Utah, but 19 games left to go for the Utah Hockey Club. That's still enough time to make up that ground and get into the Stanley Cup playoffs in their inaugural season here in Utah. How awesome would that be? You know, the NHL's trade deadline did come and go this week. Big stars like Seth Jones, Brad Marchand, and Mikko Rantanen, they were all on the move, but none of them coming to Utah. The Hockey Club, not active at the deadline, a team that is in the playoff push, has plenty of assets and a lot of money to spend. You would think that they would be interested in making a splash move with the trade to help make that run at the Stanley Cup playoffs, but Utah likes where they're at and the flexibility to still go out and make some big moves in this offseason. For now, GM Bill Armstrong likes seeing this roster as currently constructed, making this push for the postseason.
I like where our group's at, and that's the other thing. You don't really want to go in there with about 20 games left, try and throw something together and see if it works. You know, we're going on the ice right now with what we know works.
Yeah, it has been working out. You know, maybe no trades, but just as impactful are some of the contract extensions that the Utah Hockey Club has given out this week. Defenseman Olli Mata agreeing to a 3-year extension. Mata was added to the Utah roster early in the season in a trade for 3rd-round draft pick, and he has brought stability to the Utah defense and Stanley Cup winning experience as well. Armstrong loves that the club could lock him up for a few years.
And I told Oli this the other day, it's like win the lottery for us. How excited we were to have him come on board and be a part of our organization. And we were going through a tough time because we'd lost some of our key D, and he jumped in and just took hold of the reins. And the spot that we're in, competing for a playoff spot today, is because of him.
Did you see on Thursday, the team closed out the Red Wings in Detroit with the game tied entering the 3rd. They got goals from Kevin Stenlund and Lawson Krause, which gave Utah the lead for good. But it was goalie Karel Vejmelka's elite play after giving up 2 first-period goals that was most valuable in this win. Veggie saved 38 of 40 shots, the most saves in a road win this season for the club, and all of this happening the day after he signed a new 5-year contract extension with the club.
Actually, it's great news for me. You know, I desire to stay in Utah. It's a great group of guys, so that was the first thing on my mind to stay here and just be part of this great group. So I'm glad to stay. I would say it's a big family for me. It's kind of second family. So it's a pleasure to be part of it.
Jazz have it with a second left. Collier from half court.
Isaiah Collier is the 29th pick in the NBA draft. He's making a late season push to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation, and the NBA seems to be taking note. Collier named the NBA's Rookie of the Month for February, and he's not the only young Jazz star that's been shining on the court as of late. How about Walker Kessler? The Jazz center continues to play outstanding in the paint. On Friday night against the Raptors, Kessler came 2 blocks short of a triple-double. The 8 blocks, those were amazing, but it was the career-high 25 rebounds that was really attention-grabbing. 13 of those on the offensive glass, 12 on defense. All of that to go along with 18 points on 8 of 11 shooting. That is outstanding play from the big man. Now, rebounds have been contagious lately. How about Oscar Tshiebwe? Earlier in the week against the Pelicans, the Jazz rookie had a career-high 16 points and 13 rebounds. He was plus 25 on the court. This happening just 12 hours later for the Salt Lake City Stars. He then got on the court and pulled down 30 rebounds. Yes, 30 rebounds in front of 2,000 school kids and a 130-127 win over the Iowa Wolves. He played 3 games in a 24-hour stretch, and he was still crashing the boards on Friday night for the Stars. 25 more rebounds against the Oklahoma City Blue, 14 of those on the offensive glass. He also scored 11 points in the game and was plus 21 on the court. He is averaging 18.6 rebounds per game for the Stars this season in the G League. That is outstanding. All right, let's switch things over to the pitch, where Real Salt Lake looking for back-to-back wins in Major League Soccer. They return to America First Field tonight. We'll be hearing from RSL coming up in just a bit. All right, Real Salt Lake got its first win of the season just last weekend, a 2-0 victory on home field against Seattle. Tonight, they return to America First Field. They're looking for its first win streak of the season, right? Back-to-back, and it's the first ever match for RSL against San Diego FC, an MLS expansion team. RSL owns an all-time record of 9-3-3 against expansion clubs when making their first visit to Utah over the past 15 seasons. San Diego FC has yet to lose in its inaugural season, a 2-0 win over the Galaxy and a 0-0 draw against St. Louis. RSL will be ready for the new and hungry club. We'll have full coverage coming up for you tonight at 9. It's also time to hand out some Hoops hardware. The Big 12 Conference, naming its all-conference teams. Both the Utes and Cougars represented well in women's hoops. That's coming up next. This basketball regular season is in the books, which means it's time to hand out awards. Utah had 3 players earn postseason honors. Gianna Neepkins named Big 12 Scholar Athlete of the Year and All Big 12 First Team. Maya Torre named All Big 12, and Kennedy McQueen got honorable mention honors. BYU star Delaney Gibb has been named the unanimous Big 12 Freshman of the Year. She was outstanding this season. The Raymond, Alberta native averaged 17.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, 4.2 assists. She shot 40% from three-point range. She was named Freshman of the Week, a Big 12 record 10 times during the season. Can't wait to see her again next year. Join us tonight at 9. We'll have your BYU Utah highlights then.